You know that feeling, right? That constant nagging pressure to always be doing more, to be more, to achieve more. But then at the same time, there's this deep down part of you that's just screaming to slow down and just breathe. Well, that's the central paradox of our lives today, and we're going to dive right into it. I mean, seriously, think about the last time you were just waiting. Maybe you were in line for coffee, or at the doctor's office, or hey, even sitting by a pool. What was the first thing you did? I bet you reached for your phone. This quote from Kay Holdsworth just hits the nail on the head. It's like we've become allergic to being still, you know? Any empty moment, any void, we just have to fill it. Our default setting is busy. So this really brings us to the heart of the matter, the big question we're tackling today. When you think about hitting your goals, about being successful, what's the actual best way to do it? Should we be hustling 24/7, just constantly doing? Or is there another way, a path where you actually do less to achieve more? Let's explore both sides of that coin. All right, first up, let's talk about the idea that's pretty much everywhere in our culture, what I'm calling the gospel of doing. You know this world. It's all about action, about making small, steady improvements. It's the whole idea behind mega popular books like Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the core concept is actually pretty surprising. You don't need massive action to get massive results. Okay, and the math on this is it's wild. Check this out. If you get just 1% better at something every single day for a year, you don't just get 365% better. Nope, because of compounding, that snowball effect, you actually end up a staggering 37 times better. It's just such a powerful idea, right? Those tiny, almost invisible daily efforts, they add up to something huge. James Clear puts it perfectly here. He says, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. And that's exactly what it's like. It's like putting a tiny bit of money in a savings account every day. You're not going to notice it today or tomorrow, but you let that ride out for months, for years, and suddenly you've got this massive fortune of skill or knowledge or health. Here's another amazing way to visualize this. Picture a plane taking off from LA, headed for New York City, okay? Now imagine the pilot adjusts the nose of the plane just 3.5 degrees to the south. That's a tiny, tiny change. You wouldn't even feel it on the plane. But you're not going to land in New York anymore. You're going to land in Washington, D.C. That's how powerful a small change at the beginning is, and it's the exact same thing with our daily habits. But here's the tough part, right? The progress isn't always visible. James Clear has a great name for this. He calls it the plateau of latent potential. It's that frustrating feeling when you're putting in the work day in and day out, but you're just not seeing the results. You feel like you're spinning your wheels. But this quote about the stonecutter says it all. You're hammering away 100 times, nothing. Then, on that 101st hit, the rock splits. It wasn't that last hit that did it. It was all the work that came before. Okay, so that's one whole side of the argument, the path of action. But what if we flip the script completely? What about the opposite approach? There's this ancient wisdom out there that says real, true effectiveness doesn't come from pushing harder, but from stillness, from a state of flow. And I think this snow globe metaphor is just the perfect way to get it. Think about your mind like a snow globe. Most of the time in our crazy modern lives, it's being shaken constantly, right? We're jumping from task to task, email to notification. It's just a blizzard inside. Well, the wisdom of non-doing is about one simple thing. Just set the snow globe down. Let all that stuff settle. And when you do, that's when clarity shows up. This whole idea is captured beautifully in a concept from Chinese philosophy called Wu Wei. Now, when you translate it literally, it means non-acting or non-doing, which I know kind of sounds like just being lazy, but that's not it at all. A much better way to think about it is effortless action. It's that state of flow, when you're so in tune with what you're doing that it doesn't feel like work. Think of a great musician just lost in the music, or an athlete who's totally in the zone. So let's really break this down and look at the difference. On one side, you've got the world of effort. That's all about rushing, trying to control everything, using force, and honestly just being busy for the sake of being busy. But then on the other side, you have the world of Wu Wei. That's about stillness. It's about allowing things to happen instead of forcing them. It's about finding alignment and just being present. It is a completely different way of looking at, well, everything. Okay, so we've got these two really powerful ideas, right? The path of doing and the path of non-doing. But there's this one huge roadblock that can stop you cold no matter which path you're on. And it's something I think we all struggle with, the perfectionism trap. You see, perfectionism is sneaky. It pretends to be about having high standards, but really it's just fear. It makes whatever we need to do seem so huge and important that we just put it off. We procrastinate because we're afraid to even start, and it creates this paralyzing fear of failure where anything less than perfect feels like a catastrophe. That kind of pressure, it just leads to burnout, and it stops us from ever taking those messy, imperfect first steps that are the only way to actually grow. The philosopher Voltaire absolutely nailed it with this one. The best is the enemy of the good. Think about that. While we're sitting around waiting for the perfect plan or the perfect time or the perfect conditions, we end up doing nothing at all. We let this impossible idea of the best get in the way of doing something that's actually pretty darn good. At the end of the day, it's about progress, not perfection. Okay, so where does that leave us? How do we solve this puzzle? The constant doing on one side and this effortless non-doing on the other? Well, here's the secret. It's not about choosing. It's not one or the other. The real magic happens when you see how they're actually connected. This is the art of effortless action. And to see how this actually works in the real world, let's circle back to atomic habits. James Clear gives us this super simple but absolutely brilliant tool called the 2-minute rule. The idea is, whatever new habit you want to build, you just shrink it down until it takes less than 2 minutes to do. So read every day becomes read one page. Go for a 3-mile run just becomes put on my running shoes. And this is the most important part. The point of reading one page isn't really about the page. The point of putting on your running shoes isn't about the run itself. The real point is to master the habit of just showing up. You're not worried about the outcome yet. You're building the identity of a person who is consistent. You're getting really, really good at the simple act of start. And right here, this is where the whole paradox just disappears. We tend to think of effortless action or flow as this magical, mystical thing. But what if the path to it is actually super practical and systematic? Those small, consistent habits, the stuff from the Gospel of Doing, that is what actually builds the state of Wu Wei. The tiny, systematic actions are the very things that pave the way for that feeling of effortless flow. So here it is. Here's the roadmap. Step 1, you start ridiculously small with the 2-minute rule. That's how you beat perfectionism. Step 2, you master the most important skill there is, just showing up. Step 3, as you keep showing up, you build a system that you can rely on. And finally, step 4, over time, that system becomes so ingrained, so automatic, that you find yourself in that amazing state of effortless action, of Wu Wei. The doing creates the non-doing. So I'm going to leave you with one final question to think about. Forget about the giant goals for a second. Forget about all the pressure to be perfect. Just ask yourself this. What is one, just one, important thing in your life that you can make 2 minutes easier starting today, right now?